imagine now you're spending $10,000 per month or $100,000 per month on Facebook ads to drive this traffic. If you could lower that bounce rate by 30% and increase your conversion rate by 30%, what happens to your ROAS? It just magically goes up without even optimizing paid media ads.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to E-commerce Speaks with ROI Hunter. Today on the podcast, I am delighted to have Sabir Semerkant, e-commerce advisor, lecturer, and author. Sabir, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sam, for having me.
All right, so now just before we get into anything, could you give me a little introduction about yourself and your business?
Sure. I'm one of those OGs. I have one of those deceptive baby faces. People think I'm very young. I'm not. I've been in the e-com. I'm in the e-com business for 25 plus years. So literally from the birth of e-com as an industry, I was there, and to make kind of show my age, I beta tested Google when it was at Stanford.
Wow.
So that's how long I've been in this game, and consistently over time, I have managed to grow incremental revenue of $1 billion for all the companies that I've touched in my career, over $1 billion,
Wow.
And over time, I have perfected a methodology. I call it the 8D method. It's 8 dimensions of e-commerce, where if you optimize those 8 dimensions, you get explosive growth. And we can go through some case studies and we can go through some examples and exactly what 8D method is.
Excellent. Yeah, I would love to get into that. Probably, in our next topic. But before we go on to that, I wanted to ask you what got you started with e-commerce? You say you're an OG in it. You've been in it 25 years now. What drew you to the field?
So interestingly enough, this is going back even further back, right? I was so coming out of college, I was a computer scientist. So I've written millions and millions of lines of code, right? That was severe. After I pivoted to becoming this growth hacker, that I am right now, right? So when I was going through that, there was a pivot point in my career that I was part of a big 6 consulting firm, like management consulting firm. It was one of the big 6, and I saw the internet trend coming about. So before e-commerce, internet trend coming about, right? So it's like, when you meet a person at a party in 2024 and they say, oh, I'm into blockchain or NFTs, or you give them that crazy look, right? I was on the receiving end of that when I talked about internet and how great internet was, because everybody was, if they knew about BBS, forums, dial-ups, AOL, stuff like that, but they didn't understand internet at all. And I was well immersed in it.
Yeah.
So I walk up to the partner in charge at this big consulting firm. I don't want to name the company because I don't want people to reference that part, So I said that, hey, we should come up with an internet consulting practice, right? This is huge. It's huge. At that time, I was doing client server coding development and stuff like that. That's what at that time, technology was the greatest thing. That it's after mainframe, but before internet. So that middle part, right? So that's what I was doing. I had clients like U.S. Army. I had, a lot of different companies needing that help, and I was doing a great job as a coder, developing these systems and stuff like that. So I walked up to him. I said, "Internet is a huge thing. Let's do it, right?" And mind you, if I'm a baby face at this age, I'm 51, by the way, right? If I'm a baby face like this, back then when I was 22, I looked like a 12-year-old, right? At a 12-year-old talking to a partner in charge of a big 6 consulting firm, nobody takes you seriously, right? So as the internet is becoming a huge thing, it's like, you go like, oh yeah, he has shiny eyes, he's seen a shiny object. That's what he's thinking. I said, no, this is a pretty serious thing. The whole world is going to be internet based. It's going to be, this is something we need to get into. The guy goes like, you know what, we're more conservative. This is not something that we want to get into. So I felt defeated. So literally, like after I dusted off that feeling, I got up, I got up and I went back 2, 3 days later to talk to the partner. I said, I strongly think that internet is going to be a huge thing. And because I believe in it so much, I'm going to become an internet consultant. He was like, there's no such thing. I said, no, I'm going to make it a such a thing. Right. And then I said, I'm sorry, but I'm also rendering my resignation.
Wow.
So I resigned from that. At the trajectory I was going at, I was a
Yep.
senior consultant. I was going at a trajectory of potentially they saw me as the future of the firm, right? I could have become a partner in charge in 5 years, something like that. I said, no, that's not what I want to do. You know,
Wow.
as soon as I left, I had two clients as internet consultants. I had Jim Cramer, TheStreet.com, and I had Tommy Hilfiger,
Oh,
two of
wow.
them. Two of them signed up with me to say, oh, this guy is interesting. He's doing internet consulting, so he's going to make this happen. I did those two, hit it out of the ballpark. And after that, I became to be known as the guy you hire if you want your internet initiative to be launched.
Wow.
Right. So that I did for a while. Right. During .com, I was not sleeping. I had clients around the clock. And then here's the pivot point. Uh, I get involved with the Vitamin Shop
Mhm.
and Jeff Horowitz, right, as the founder of the company. So, he had taken his vitaminshop.com, went out and like everybody does now, calling their companies blockchain, right? He did the .com part of it back then. He takes it, puts it up on NASDAQ as a public company, separated from the parent company. That company goes public, just like a lot of .coms, it goes bust and it goes bankrupt. He buys the assets back. He gets involved with me. I get involved with the business and I start putting the machines back together. Literally, he bought it from a asset fire sale
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
bankruptcy court. So I start putting the stuff together and I went like, okay, who do I talk to start marketing and bringing some traffic to this site? Goes like, what are you talking about? I thought from my network, they said, you're the guy. I said, yeah, it's like a Captain Kirk moment, right?
Yeah.
I said, I was Scotty. I said, no, I'm an engineer. I'm
I
not a
set it
marketer.
up, but
So he goes like, no, I've seen you do this work. You're really great at it. I'm going to teach you the vitamin business. You need to pick up some marketing stuff and you will do great. Right. I said, okay, fine. So I took that on. Mind you, my background in marketing and business was two courses, Economics 101 and Accounting 101 at Queens College, because that was core requirements.
okay.
Not that I had any interest in it, right? So during the week, I'm working at Vitamin Shop. On the weekends, I go to Barnes and Noble, pick up marketing books that I have never read in my life. I start taking notes from it every single weekend. And whatever I learn on the weekend, self-taught, right? I come into Vitamin Shop during the week. I implement everything that I learned that weekend, literally.
Yeah.
So that channel went from bankruptcy or pre-bankruptcy was $12 million. And this is what was my very first time, $52 million in 4.5 years.
Oh, wow. And a forged in fire approach, going at it without any real prior knowledge and just
And
kind
and
of,
that there's a lesson in it, Sam,
yeah.
because when you are part of a clique, right? You're part of an industry, a major, right? You literally have blinders on. I had no rules. Nobody told me the
Yeah.
rules about marketing. So I figured it out. And then I said, okay, I'm going to, because at that time, great for me, there was no e-commerce marketing book.
Yeah.
Nobody had written the book for it. So what I did was I read about infomercials and direct marketing and DRTV and stuff like that, like things that you would mail to people. I said, okay, let me learn those foundational stuff and
Sure.
apply those things towards this new medium and see if it works.
Bring your own
And
spin to
from
it.
that day on, and it's been 25-year journey, my every single day I practice, test, learn, optimize.
Mm-hmm.
Check your ego at the door, right?
Yeah.
Your opinion literally does not matter, right? And given the fact that I've done $1 billion in incremental sales, I could
Yeah.
be on a pedestal with a huge ego. But the thing is, once you check that ego, and a lot of companies, they do that, right? I'm the CEO, I'm the CMO. So if I'm saying I'm the CMO, I have the most brilliant idea. Nobody else matters, right?
Mm.
And that ends up actually hurting the business when you think like that. In my case, it's either worked, which is my engineering background.
Sure.
set up the test. You either get the data and it works, or it just doesn't work. If it doesn't work, change the parameters, retest. If it didn't work again, okay, you know what? There are 1,000 other tests you could do.
Yep.
Move on. Don't attach your ego or your emotion to that test to say, oh, why didn't it work? As soon as you do that, that's when you start spending money so much on your ego that your bank doesn't have enough cash flow to fund it.
In a fast-moving industry like ours, you're only as good as your last ad. So you got to keep iterating, keep testing, and keep going for it. Uh, Now, Sabir, I did want to get a little bit into the 8D methodology that you mentioned before. Can you walk me through how that works?
Sure. So this 8D method, I have refined it over. So it has existed in some form for the past 25 years.
Okay.
But every time, because economic changes happen, right? We had pandemic, we had inflation, we had recession. Each one of these things causes issues with strategies where you need to make adjustments to your strategies. It's not tactical stuff. It's very foundational and very much strategy based.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that when you implement these things, these 8 dimensions, and 8D stands for 8 dimensions of e-commerce, once you implement them and optimize them, they're foundational so that it's not like you're giving it back, right? You know how you work with an agency and you run some ads, and after that agency is done, if they did a great job or a poor job, like literally when you move on from that agency and all that work that you have done, you give it back, you gave it back basically, right? You have to restart the clock. But with the 8D method, it's foundational. And once you implement it, it stays with you. To kind of give you the power of it, in our most recent, we started the Rapid 2X group 3 weeks ago. This is our 4th week now with this new group that we have. And we've been running it pretty regularly. As a collective, they have grown their businesses in the first 3 weeks. It's a 12-week program. In the first 3 weeks, shy of 91% incremental revenue. They scored more incremental revenue than the total revenue year over year that they had scored last year for the same period.
Wow. Wait, what was the time frame you said? Within the first
3
2
weeks.
weeks of that? 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
What are the major changes that you're making to have such a jump like that?
So we go through. So let me take you through it.
Sure.
Right? It's very it is a methodology. So it is method based. You have to go through them. Right? It's a 10 to 12 week program that we go through. Right? And each week we focus on a dimension or a subset of a dimension, because some dimensions do take a little bit more. Right? So for example, the first one is performance optimization. The very first thing, because my thesis is, and actually it's been proven many times, there is something broken with your business, right? And if you optimize some key elements, and this is why the first 3 weeks we spend is performance optimization. And that means performance optimization of your site and landing pages, performance optimization of your email, your customers and SEO, and performance optimization of your paid media ads. So that's the first 3 weeks, right? If you think about it, those 10 weeks is brutal. It's a lot of work. But the thing is, you're no longer working in a situation that, what am I doing wrong?
Sure.
Like that's what we are doing. We're fixing the business in those 10 weeks, right? So in the first 3 weeks, we focus on performance optimization in these 3 key areas. And why do we do that? The very first task that we tackle has to do with your site speed.
Okay.
If your site speed is not at par with consumer attention span, and if you're off, and I'll tell you what the baseline is, if you're off by 1 second, every 1 second that you add on top of that attention span, you're losing 30% of your conversion rate, and you're increasing bounce rate by 30%. Those are very important KPIs. Both of them are. So imagine now you're spending $10,000 per month or $100,000 per month on Facebook ads to drive this traffic. If you could lower that bounce rate by 30% and increase your conversion rate by 30%, what happens to your ROAS? It just magically goes up without even optimizing paid media ads. All you're doing is you're looking at the site itself. And a lot of agencies, this is where they get it wrong, right? When they are running Facebook ads, they focus on creative optimization, ad copy, and CTA and audience segmentation and stuff like that. But what about the house? The house
What
is
about the
not in order.
technical infrastructure that's setting all of that up and holding it together?
So let me ask you this key question related to
Please.
performance optimization. In 2024, when we are recording this right now,
Yeah.
right? What is the consumer attention span in 2024?
What, like how many seconds does the consumer keep their attention? I
No,
would
how many seconds do they tolerate you?
tolerate you. Okay. Now are we talking like for waiting for a page to load or just like watching you?
No, attention span. You have to make your point to the consumer.
My guess would be 8 to 10 seconds.
Ooh, that was back in 2001.
Oh God.
So 2024, I've been part of this journey. This is what makes it exciting, right?
Okay. All
In
right.
2024, you have to thank 3 apps. App number 1 is TikTok. App number 2 is Instagram Reels. App number 3 is Amazon app, right?
Okay.
These 3 apps have trained and they have spent billions of dollars on consumer attention. They have lowered that attention span to 1.7 seconds.
1.7. Jesus. Oh wow.
And
Okay.
if you don't make your point in 1.7 seconds with your website, not page speed needs to be even better than that for you to make your initial impression with me,
Yeah.
first impression, that within 1.7 seconds, right? If you don't make that attention, if you don't grab my attention in that 1.7 seconds, I'm off.
Yeah.
This is why you are seeing increased number of bounce rates. Increased, right? When you introduce a new traffic, the tolerance is not there. The issue is not necessarily your meta ad or Google ad that you're running. The issue is you did not present it to them in due time that they were tolerating you, right? For 1.7. Above this 1.7 second mark, every second you add, 30% loss in conversion rate.
Yeah. So that's
So
why.
now you can see in that first week and within first few days, some of the rapid 2Xers, that's our program that implements the 8D method. It's called the Rapid 2X Accelerator Program. Within the first few days, some of amazing Rapid 2Xers we have in there, they're like type A personalities, highly motivated.
Sure.
As soon as I assigned the task on Monday morning, right, they implement it by Monday night or Tuesday, they start seeing results. And some of them saw 30-40% increase. Well, like, wow, I was literally sitting on this and I didn't fix my site was the problem, right? Like it goes like, by the way, side effect, my ROAS increased on Meta ads and Google ads. Yeah, that has nothing to do with your. So if your agency is complimenting themselves like this, right? That they did something brilliant this week. Just let them know that you're optimizing your site right now, and that's why they're seeing the side effect of that, right? And everything we do is very surgical, right?
Okay.
Everything has to make sense. So imagine during this 10-week period when we are doing 100 optimizations to the business, right? And it's not just marketing, it's not just the site, it's logistics, it's everything that we touch. And I'll take you through all the other dimensions also, right? Imagine 100 optimizations in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
If you get, and Sam, you have been in this game for a while too, right? If you get out of every optimization, you get 1% improvement in that KPI, 1%, just 1%. In 10 weeks, that's 100% improvement. That's an incredible growth, but you know that some are going to give you a reasonable 1.8%, 10%, 15%, but there are some that give you 250% increase.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, it sounds like you're working with the 8D method. You're starting with the structural stuff, the more low-hanging fruit where you can just change this, and then it gets a little more incising as you go along.
Yep. So the first 3 weeks, it's a lot of implementation, right? Okay. Implementation, fixes, and by the way, I'm advising in that scenario. So I'm advising them. The founder is 100% in control of implementation. Some of them implement very quickly, and they see incredible results. I mean, the average that I shared with you was shy of 91%. There are some overachievers in there that are well above that 91% mark. In the first 3 weeks, and they will potentially, probably there are 2 of them that are doing an incredible job, right? Head to head, they're butting heads, which is great with you need that sort of healthy competition among type A personalities, and they do a great job, and they see the results. It's not like I'm telling them to do something that's going to be, because to me, wasting money is one thing, right? Because
Yeah.
if you do bad ads and stuff like that, you're wasting money. But worse for me is wasting time,
Mm.
because time is the one thing I cannot make back. I can make back the money somehow, right? But once you waste the time, that's it. So we use the time really efficiently during these 10 weeks.
Mhm.
And also, as a human being, when we try something for 21 times over for 21 days, it becomes part of our habit too. So this becomes habit forming, that these founders are becoming trained into seeing things in a very different light,
Okay.
right? If I'm spending my time or money on something, this is how I want to test it. This is the results I want to get. They start getting better and better at decision making also going forward, even once they graduate the Rapid 2X program.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you for going into the methodology of it. Is there more that you want to break down for the methodology, or do you want to talk
Sure. So
industry?
there are some other things that we go
Yeah.
through, like, for quite a lot of ecom folks, pricing is a big one. So dimension number 2 is pricing. But
Okay.
when we talk about pricing, we're talking about strategic pricing. We're not talking about just coming up with promo codes and discounting to hell.
Sure.
That's something I actually prohibit my Rapid 2Xers from doing. We want to do it very efficiently and very targeted when it makes sense. But
Yeah.
we talk about the 7 different sub dimensions of pricing that we need to implement in our business, so that not only are we increasing average order, we are also increasing net profitability of the business too, by strategically thinking about pricing in a different way.
Now,
Uh, dimension 3 is marketing. I'm sorry, Sam, you
sorry,
want?
no, I didn't want to interrupt you because I love the methodology. I can get into this later, but one of the things that I've been talking a lot with the other guests we've had on the podcast is about a renewed focus on profitability and net profitability over just growth and revenue that we've seen, particularly in the last year or so, based likely on the increase in interest rates and the lack of cheap capital. I was gonna, yeah, just ask you for your thoughts on that, if you've seen more focus going in on that in just the last year.
Cost of doing business has gone up. I mean,
Yeah.
the interest rates definitely are one factor, but if you look at cost of advertising has gone up at the same
Yeah.
time where the ROAS has tanked, right? And you got to thank iOS 14 update for that, right? But the thing is, the platform itself is not efficient, and even when it is efficient and you're happy, then Facebook ads delivery, shuts down, and
Yeah.
it's not delivering results. So it's costing you more to operate that business, right?
Hmm.
And also, if you're in e-commerce, definitely you're also either thinking about, or I have implemented Amazon as a selling channel also,
Mm.
right? In addition to your D2C channel. So if you have Amazon, Amazon fees are going up too, and there are more restrictions on what can be sent and how much can be sent, and if there are storage fees that are going up or FBA fees are going up, that's increasing too on top of that. So overall, it's like a perfect storm of increased business expense, cost of doing business, right? So that's what is the side effect of that? You have to be super careful about the right strategies you can implement for your business that yields you the right level of profitability. Otherwise, you might as well just shut down and shutter that business, because what good is top line sale if you don't have any cash flow?
Growth only takes you so far if you don't have the actual money coming in to keep making the business go.
And VC money has become more expensive
Yeah,
also. So
that's
that's
I
the other
one
thing. So
thing.
if you think that, oh, I have a faucet, it's called VC money or any angel investor, that has become more expensive too.
Yep, 100%.
Because VCs are becoming smarter and smarter about, oh, you know what, the cost of getting capital from the bank is not cheap anymore.
That's gone
So
up with
our
it.
money is even more expensive. You
So
know.
now it can't be that same growth economy we've seen over the last 15 years. People are starting to have to get a little bit smarter about making sure that they're bringing in the net profit that they're going to need to keep going.
I mean, you're going to have two classes of companies in that, right? You're
Yeah.
going to have one class of companies that are going to just fold because they just don't know any better. Because when you have free money, people think that they're very smart.
Yeah.
They're going to continue doing it until they run the business into the ground.
Sure.
while other ones that are they'll become much more smarter very quickly, right? And they may have been practicing it a little bit, but now they realize that I need to practice even harder
Hmm.
so that I have a better cash flow, because cash is king. The cash in the bank is going to be king for my cash flow, right? So if I have that, that means I can get more inventory, I can acquire more customers. And if I'm doing that efficiently and in a smarter way, like our average Rapid 2Xer, they're when they enter the program, they're getting less than one ROAS, less than one ROAS.
Yep.
Some of them are feeling like heroes. They might get 1.5, right? Right.
Okay.
And they go
Okay.
like, well, we have an agency that said that's promising close to 2, and we're looking into that. So here's some of the results of the Rapid 2Xers when they optimize, the entire dimensions, all the dimensions, right? 3 to 4x on Meta ads, 6 to 7x on Google ads. And I don't call myself, by the way, a paid media agency.
Sure. Sure.
I'm an advisory firm, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I advise on the best practices that you need to implement in your business to survive, right?
Hmm.
And on Amazon is 10 to 13x ROAS.
Wow.
So you want that cash machine to actually produce cash for your business, because the cash flow is the blood for your
Yep.
business and oxygen. So that gives you that growth that you need, that fuel that you need to buy more inventory, to hire more employees, to ultimately that's what you're doing, right?
Hmm.
To expand your business, more categories. Those are the things you want to think about when you're operating that business. But if you're doing it inefficiently, and you're doing it and not thinking about the cash flow, what does that do? Eventually, you're gonna run out, right? And a lot of those capital places that you would go to before are not available to you anymore.
Yeah. They've run dry or are in the process of running dry. So
Yeah.
getting back to what you were saying before, I think you were on the
So
third
two
P.
was pricing.
Okay, two was pricing. What was three?
So three is marketing,
Okay.
and marketing is not selling. Marketing is storytelling.
Yes.
You have to spend time telling your story about your brand. Why did you come up with this brand? Why you? Right? You as a founder, why did you come up with this thing that you're trying to sell, right? And what you're selling, why did you come up with that? Why did you make that? Now I'm trying to say, like, I'm not talking to the drop shippers, right? You could
Sure.
still be a
Sure.
drop shipper, but if you're telling a story around it, you're not a regular drop shipper. So I want to make that distinction there. But everybody else, like, if you came up with this new thing, a new knickknack that's going to be different than what's in the market and stuff like that, right? Why
Hmm.
did you come up with it? Why you, right? Why you is the founder story, right? Why that product? Those are the features and benefits, and how does it benefit the consumer when they buy this thing from you, right? It's all about the consumer at the end of the day, right? And when you're telling that story, do you put the customer on a pedestal, not your product, not yourself? Because a lot of brands do that. They put themselves on a pedestal. They go like, worship me, I'm the brand, I'm the founder, I'm the product. No, the other way around. How do you fit into their lives, right? Into the consumers' lives. You Once you make that pivot and you make the story about the consumer, you win in a big way. And it's about, now you have the mechanism to do it. You're blessed in 2024. Platforms like social media, YouTube, your website, email
Yep.
marketing, or partner sites, paid sponsorships. I mean, the list goes on. There are thousands of outlets where you can tell that story and tell it very effectively.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the best marketing that I've seen in the last years is a shoe company in the UK that has their own reality series they've launched on YouTube, where they bring in all these different creators and have it all about that. And they still talk about the shoes, they still have it there, but they've created this great story and this great branding around it, where people who aren't even interested at first are going to be drawn into it.
Yep, absolutely. Like, it's we are humans after all, right? Even if we let's take us back to the fictional cave times, right? I don't know if it's true or not, but let's say
We can
cave
imagine.
times, when we went out hunting, right? And men went out hunting,
Yeah.
and they hunted. When they sat around the fire, they were talking about, like, what they hunted, how did they prayed, how did they stalked, and all those kind of things, and how that beast thing came attacking them. And that has been part of our DNA. Now
Yep.
we're doing it over Zoom, right? And we're doing it over social media, right? What and if it was the females, how, if they were taking care of the cave and taking care of the kids and taking care of making the food and stuff like that in from those cave times, right?
Mhm.
They were talking about what were the greatest things. Social media existed from back then, right? you
Yeah.
know it was called the fire pit,
It's
right?
different
At
form.
the
Yeah.
fireplace,
Yeah.
they would sit around and talk. Everybody would talk to each other about what was going on. Fast forward, it's just we're still cave people. It's
Mhm.
just that our fire is an app on an iPhone that we use, and that's the mechanism we use to do that, right? We are still at our core, we believe in stories, regardless of what culture you come from, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always an argument about some cultures are more technical versus story. You know what? At our DNA level, we all love stories,
It's all
right? We
about it.
all love stories and we believe in stories.
I even have the book Storynomics right behind me, which I agree. Robert
Robert
McKee, one of the
McKee,
great
right?
screenwriting people, talking about, yeah, the stories behind marketing. Because if you don't do a story that people are engaged in, then why should they care?
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, you're telling them, oh, it's AA batteries,
Yeah,
it's 5 feet tall. Yeah, it's 23.7 inches. It's 15% faster.
just not.
Okay. Tell me, how does it help me first before you tell me all these technical things?
Absolutely.
So that's dimension 3. Number 4 is product positioning and brand building, right?
Okay.
Your product is different than what's in the marketplace, right? You have to dig deep and figure out how you want to position your product.
Mhm.
If you say that, oh, it's for everybody, I hear that from every founder, by the way. It's meant to be for everybody. It can help, well, women. So
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
market, addressable market? It's
Well,
humans from
everyone.
from 18 to till they're dead.
Yeah.
That's the entire audience. Okay. All right. So you didn't tell me you have a $1 trillion budget, for your to address that market,
Yeah.
right? Oh yeah, I don't have that much money, right? All right. So what is your addressable market, right?
Slice it
And
down.
if you look at, okay, let's lower our expectations. Like, let's look at who we want to address so that they become evangelists. And how does your product in this dimension? We're optimizing the product positioning. So many sites, even today, when I go to that product landing page, right? They have learned from Amazon. At least they have the product title, they have several images,
Yeah.
and that's it, right? They don't go beyond that. They don't tell you, like, why should I buy? When a consumer, here's the thing, Sam,
Yeah.
right? When a consumer shows up to your site and the bounce rate, if you're lucky, the bounce rate is 65%. So that means only 35% stayed on your site. When you run cold traffic from meta ads and stuff initially, that number jumps to 80-90%,
Wow.
right? That's the reality of the day, right? So the 35 people that stayed with you, now they have a tolerance of 1.7 seconds, right? Are you really telling them something the beneficial? That 35%, those 35 people out of 100 have 1,000 reasons why they don't want to buy from you.
Yeah.
They don't trust you because they were asking for a credit card. The price point is too high, but you're not offering installments. Is that red enough for me, or the pink enough for me, or blue, or is it dark gray? Right? All of those. There's 1,000 reasons why I don't want to buy from you, even though I showed up on your site and I tolerated to stay on your page
For
for
1.7
1.7 seconds or
seconds.
more.
Yeah. But now I'm not engaged, so I'm just going to go away.
Yep. So engage me. Like, tell me, why should I care? Like, I've seen that product, that water fountain for your cat, right? I've seen it on thousands of sellers on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
What makes it different about this, right? About this site? Now, I have a cat. If that site belonged to me,
Mhm.
I would show my cat and talk about Heather, and Heather is my cat's name, right? I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
talk about Heather. I would say how much she loves this and how her fur is growing so much nicer because she has flowing water and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I'm telling a story of how Heather changed my life and it has become my support animal and stuff
Makes it
like that.
personal.
Now it goes back to dimension 3, where I'm storytelling now, but
Mhm.
it's helping this dimension of product positioning to say that, oh, well, you have a better emotional connection with your cat. You are actually, since your cat is part of your family, you can treat it so much better. And this water fountain actually helps her get hydrated all the time and have such beautiful fur, and
Yeah.
and look at her healthiness and how happy she is and stuff like that, right? That's product positioning, right? And brand part of it is, why should I care about you to have a relationship with you over a longer period of time? Oh, I'm not just telling you to buy the water fountain. You're buying also the story that goes with it and
Mm-hmm.
my expertise of how I take care of Heather, right? So I'm telling you that don't buy the water fountain by itself. You need to change the water filter once a month. Otherwise, it's going to get green and your cat is going to get sick. So I'm offering this special bundle, which touches the pricing now at a special price. It's a 12 filters for 12 months so that you're taken care of for
Yeah.
the entire year and your cat is going to be healthy and happy. Now we move on to the fifth dimension. The fifth
Okay.
dimension is customer user experience, right? Now in the first four dimensions, you have done all the right things with the speed of the site is great and everything that you do related to performance optimization of your email marketing, SEO, customers, you're looking at your paid media ads, your landing pages, everything is optimized through that process. Your marketing and storytelling, your product positioning, your pricing is right, right? Now, why are we doing all these things? We're doing it because of the person that we want to put on a pedestal. It's not you as a brand owner, it's your customer. Because if your customer doesn't exist, your company doesn't exist, right? They pay for everything, right? So, customer UX in this dimension, in the fifth dimension, what we're doing is we are doing everything to assist the customer user experience throughout their journey. And their journey finishes on your site.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't start on your site. It starts with wherever you had that social connection with them, right? It could be word of mouth also, right? So think of all those connection points, starting points. It could be ads that you're running that brings the people in. Are you connecting, truly connecting between the ad creative that you have
Mm-hmm.
and where you're landing them, right? And I see a lot of e-commerce businesses where they miss the mark. The creative looks amazing, but when they land on the page, it misses the mark. The consumer is lost,
Yeah.
right? Imagine watching those. There are some movies and very bad directors out there, right? You're watching a movie, right?
Yeah.
It cuts from one scene to the next scene. Go like, what happened? Like, where's the story? Where did she come from,
Yeah.
right? And you're confused. The same happens when you do that to consumers, when you are showing something on a meta ad or on your free YouTube channel that they consume some video, right? And then they show up to your site, they go like, is this the same brand?
Doesn't connect. Yeah.
Right? They get confused. So that customer journey needs to be optimized,
Mm-hmm.
right? So think of whatever that snippet, that micro content that you showed, that you got a little bit of a commitment from that consumer when you land them on your site.
Mm-hmm.
So think of the other thing as a movie trailer. Okay, you showed me a trailer. I love the trailer, right? I love the Avengers, whatever you showed me. I want to watch the movie. So when I land on your site, let me watch the movie. Tell me more, right? Tell me about more benefits of the product, the storytelling, all the great things about it, how to use it, how to care for it. Tell me everything about it. I'm ready to buy, right? And it's I find it so funny that consumers have their literal wallets out with their credit card and they want to pay you, and
Yeah.
e-com businesses do everything to hinder that commercial transaction. They are the anti-commerce e-commerce sites.
Mm-hmm.
you know so optimize that consumer journey, and in 2024, the number one thing you need to prioritize for the consumer journey,
Yeah.
if you have a designer that has a beautiful Mac on their desktop, right, and they're showing you how beautiful your website looks on a desktop,
Mm-hmm.
nobody cares. And I'll tell you, based on stats, nobody cares. In case of e-commerce, uh, anywhere from 60 to 80% of your traffic and your revenue comes from mobile device.
Yep.
And if your customer is in the US, that means it's iPhone, right? Number one fact. So it doesn't matter if you're a brand guy, you're the CMO, you love to see the site on a desktop on your expensive Mac, the latest Mac that Apple put out, and you bought it and you're proud of it. Nobody cares, right?
Yep.
If you want that business to work, you need to look at it literally, not even on emulation. Buy that $1,500 iPhone or the cheapest one you can get, right? Get it, go to the site. Do you make the connection, that 1.7 seconds on that Safari, on that iPhone, if it's a US market, right?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, it does, that means that you're going to win big time, right?
Good.
And if it doesn't, go like, no, my site is mobile optimized, Sabir. No, it's 2024. Mobile optimized was a phrase back in 2008. So in 2024, it's mobile first. And for the US market, it's iPhone first.
Got it.
And if you are in a different market, there are other markets that Samsung is the king, then it's Samsung first. That means it has to be Android and it has to be the Chrome browser on a mobile device. You have to test it. It's worth the investment. Get the physical product. Don't go like, oh, I have emulator. I can change between iPhone 10 and iPhone 16. No, go and buy it. It's an instrument you need in order to, because conversion is tied behind it, right?
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You got to find the end product that your end user is actually on. And it makes me think of when movies are edited with top of the line soundware, and then everyone wonders why they can't understand it when it actually gets to theaters because they were testing it on something much better than most people are going to have in their homes or in their theater setup. So you got to make sure that you're meeting.
And
your
how many
customers.
of those people actually have it? Regular
Right, exactly.
consumer.
Like or when you're
Regular consumer has an Amazon or a Vizio from Costco. Does
exactly
it really work and give you that immersive experience on that? Because that's middle America,
you got to
right?
do it with what most people are actually using to make sure that you're hitting them.
And when you're not doing it, you know what you're doing, Sam? You're burning money on the advertising side,
Yeah,
and you're losing money on the revenue side on your site.
no good.
And there's no reason behind that. And based on that, like when you think about mobile, like how are they paying me?
Yeah,
Right? You should think about how are they paying me? Are they paying me with credit cards? But on mobile, you are asking me to punch things in 16 times digits. No, I'm not going to do that, right?
yeah.
People bail. Okay, show me the Apple Pay, right? Apple Pay, boom, done. I'm done. I don't have to even punch in my shipping address. The Apple Pay has that information, or Amazon Pay, or Samsung Pay, or Google Pay,
Yeah.
right? Make it super easy for me. If you are in a segment where people don't have access to credit card, and there are businesses like that, right? Maybe
Mhm.
they have access to a Cash App or PayPal, right? Do you offer that? Do you really truly understand how consumers can pay you for this thing that you have, right? And if the cost is too much for them, on a single payment, do you offer installment plans? And you're mindful of that. So
Yeah.
something like $500 may not be a big number for you, rich guy, right? But the thing is, if that person wants to make that attainable for them, do you offer a 5 payment plan of $100 per month? I can afford that over a 5 month period,
Yeah.
and that richness, so I can feel good about that jacket that I bought, or that watch that you're trying to sell me. I cannot afford it $500 right now, but I can afford $500 in $100 installments. So being mindful of that kind of stuff, it pays off really, really well in this dimension when you're optimizing this consumer UX, and really knowing your customer in this sense
Yeah.
is really critical for your business.
Great. Okay, that makes sense. So then we're on sixth dimension.
Number 6
I think we're
is,
past
now I'm going to
cyberspace.
make a lot of engineers happy because that's kind of my former life, right?
All right. Yeah.
Number 6 is tech, right? Tech, and this is, you're not going to like my next statement if you're a tech guy, right? Tech could be an amazing tool for you, or
Mhm.
it might be the demise of your company,
Okay.
right? I Even in 2024, I still come across businesses that they still think that you still need to write custom code
Mm.
instead of buying Lego parts like Shopify with certain number of apps, putting it together to get a great experience very quickly. I can put together a Shopify business over a weekend,
Yeah.
right? Because I know how to effectively do it with using the exact apps that will give me the biggest bang for my buck, right? But I still see that people are still, if they use WooCommerce or
Mhm.
Magento, I still say that, okay, that's fine, because there are plugins that you can attach to it, right?
Sure.
But there are still businesses that they still believe that even the add to cart functionality, they need to code it in PHP or Perl or Python or whatever their nephew told them that graduated with a computer science degree from their local university, right? And
Rather
they
than
think that
going.
that's the best thing since sliced bread. But every time they have to go back to that nephew or cousin or whatever. There's a lot of nephews and cousins that I deal with, you know, in businesses, right? So when you go to them, they go like, oh well, the thing is that's going to be pretty complicated. It's going to take me about 2.5 weeks to work on that.
Yep.
2.5 weeks turned into 6 weeks. That functionality could have been up this afternoon, and they could have been testing.
Okay.
If the platform was right.
So don't worry too much about your custom coding jobs. There are solutions you can use that are going to get you on the ground and running.
More than 95% of e-com businesses that I see there is no reason for them to do custom coding. None.
Yeah.
There might be 5%. Even that 5%, I can find you an app that does personalization. That's the only exception to that rule.
Okay.
Right? It's personalization. Oh, we do the etching on the inside of the jacket. Okay, there's an app for that. I can tell you a great app you can install, you know, on your Shopify that you can not only do the jackets, you could do the kerchiefs, and you could do t-shirts, and you could do everything. You can go nuts with the personalization, right? And customization, not a problem, right? So there are not any legitimate reasons behind that, right? Unless the company literally says that, oh, we're in the business of tech, not in the business of whatever we're trying to retail, right? Sure. There are some companies that say, oh, tech is our IP, right? It just so happens that we're selling this thing right now, right? Okay, you know, if you are, okay, Mark Zuckerberg, you know, or Jeff Bezos, like if you are the next guy, I'm sorry, I apologize, right? Go ahead and keep doing that, right? But for most businesses, 95% plus, you know, Shopify, WooCommerce, there are platforms like BigCommerce is an amazing platform too, right? Especially if you're trying to do B2B, it's a great platform to do that on, right? These are pretty powerful platforms. For you to like really do custom coding, there's no reason behind it, right? And so that's the first hurdle. The second hurdle with tech is that they go like, oh, Sabir said we should go with Shopify. Let's go to town with these apps that he was talking about. So one of the audits that we do of the tech in this dimension is, why did you install 30 apps? Well, you said if you needed an app, you just install it. Yeah. Do you need them, or do you just install them? Right. Yeah. and there are e-com sites that have 5 live chats. They have 3 page builders. They have, so which one are you using? And the one that, by the way, when I say these things, these are not hypothetical things. These are real life examples, right? Okay. The one with the 5 live chats had no chat on the site.
Where were they all?
It was installed.
They were just installed
by XYZ.
Okay.
Got fired. Nobody bothered to remove it. It's like hoarding, right? Okay. You know that TLC channel thing show called Hoarding, and we go in and we're like, oh my God, how can somebody live like that, right? I do the same thing when I look at these Shopify sites with 30 apps installed on them. And what's worse is they go like, you know, our expenses are increasing. Yeah, you have 30 apps on there that you don't use.
You're paying for all of this.
In my opinion, a very good theme with maybe 6 to 7 apps is more than enough for most of the sites, right? And they would do exceptional features. There's no need for more than that. The hoarding aspect comes in when you hire an agency, you hire a developer on Fiverr, you hire this other guy, and then they just keep on doing their own thing. And, oh, I don't want to touch anybody else's code because I don't know what they were doing, right? That's the excuse. So in this, when we get to dimension number 6, we go through elimination first. And then we go through optimization of like, are they even using the right theme? Because you could work on a better theme with less apps, and the cost, that monthly cost of having rental fee on those apps adds up very quickly. On average, a lot of these Shopify sites in app subscription, they're paying around $1,200 on a regular basis.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that can add up.
That's a lot of money.
That can add up really fast.
That's a pretty decent sushi at Nobu. You know?
That's what I was going to spend.
Take your wife or husband out and have a great time at Nobu, right? Amazing sushi, right?
I mean, it sounds like, a lot of with tech is showing people you don't need to spend the extra time and the money going after.
It has to be the right tech. It has to be the right tech. It has to be optimized for your business, not just because you read something that said, oh, you need to install this thing. You know, why for you specifically? Why did you install it? Oh, somebody said, no, I don't care about somebody. I care about you. Why did you install it? Why did you think that this was a good idea, right? And
That's
what are
what
you
you
doing with it,
use
right?
it.
And most answers is like, hush, there's nothing. There's nothing there, right? So that's number 6,
Okay.
right? And we go through very diligently, go through that and see that even like for like, is there another plugin or an app that you could use, or even a SaaS product that could enhance your business, and you could eliminate maybe 5 or 6 of these other apps that you didn't need in the first place, right? So that's the evaluation we do in this one. And the rapid 2xers actually in the 8D method, actually they implement these changes as we're doing it. And these are all attainable things, by the way. As we're talking about each one of these things, the tasks that are assigned are doable within 3 to 5 days. So it's not like I'm not asking them to re-platform, right? Because I know that takes 3 months, right? So I never ask in the Rapid 2X to somebody to re-platform, but it's something that, these are attainable changes that they do that can be accomplished within 3 to 5 days. Everything that we have discussed, Number 7 is logistics.
Okay.
Anyone that touches your business that has to do with customer satisfaction, where of things that are not so sexy. And what do I mean by that? Customer service, not sexy. Order fulfillment, absolutely not sexy. Manufacturing, even more boring, right? But your back office, finance and operations and merchandising, not so sexy. But you know what? If you don't have that right, the entire thing can collapse, right? So let's say if the marketing dimension and the customer UX and everything else is working so fabulous, 91%, 91% growth, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have the back end to support it, your product your best sellers have gone out of stock, and there's no end in sight, and when you're gonna get the next batch in, right? When you see that people are complaining about your products and you didn't do a great job of product positioning or improving your product for that matter, right? All those kinds of things hits logistics. If it's great that you got, we got 10 times the order during the Black Friday sale. Yeah, but it took you 6 weeks to fulfill it. So a lot of your customers didn't get it by Christmas. And a lot of disappointed people by the Christmas tree, right? And that are cursing you out right now as a brand, right? And now they're angry. They're gonna go for chargebacks, and that's gonna hurt your credit card payment processing fees and penalties and all those kinds of things. So number 7, do you have the right logistics in place to handle this growth, right? Do you have at least the basics first, and then enhancements that we need to do to that logistics to continue growing? Because once you get this momentum of growth, it's going to continue working, right? And then once you get that growth, do you have the right partners? What got you here to $1 million mark may not be the right 3PL partner for order fulfillment, because it's a small warehouse. When you go from 1 million to 3.5 million, they will be pulling their hair out. But they won't complain because they're liking the amount that they're charging you for pick, pack, and ship and whatever, right? Sure. But at 3.5, maybe you need a different partner that has amazing discounts with FedEx and UPS, and they have 2 warehouses or 10 warehouses across the country. They can distribute your inventory. They could do FBA for you and FBM, and they could do SFP and all sorts of things like that, like with Amazon and with Walmart and Target, and help you expand that business and stuff like that. But that little warehouse that helped you got there initially, you outgrew them. You really need to think about these things, like when it comes to that. Even like investing in customer service, does it make sense for you to invest in it? Or can you train an outside third party to actually help you with that customer service?
Well, now, Sabir, why would I need customer service when I have 5 chatbots right here that I've installed on my site? They can just go into 5 of these chatbots.
That don't work. No, so on the serious note of that chatbot, right? There are self-service. You can do FAQ pages on the product page. You could do self-help type things. You could implement AI into that, right? Yep. But that requires us thinking about the strategy of how to provide that level of service. Yep. And then let's say you're free for only 3 hours a day where you can do a live help. All right. So do a live chat so that they can actually ask you questions during that time. If you don't have it, formalize and standardize it. Every single Thursday at 5 p.m., Sabir is going to show up on Facebook to do a live show, right? And when I do a live show about my leather goods company that I have,
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask. You can ask me any questions about how to take care of my leather. Where do I source it? How do you, what's coming up? I can tell you the next drop I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
I can have an amazing, thriving community around it by actually doing a great service around that. And
Keep
that's
adding to
part
the
of the
story.
logistics part of it too. That what parts of it do you want to self-service? What parts of it could be AI driven? What parts of it could be more directional, like FAQ pages and stuff like that on the product page where their attention is, anyways, right? And if there is, if post purchase, right, after I buy this thing from you, why don't you just send me this stuff so that I know that how I can take care of this thing that I just bought, right?
Mhm.
Many e-com businesses, they think of Klaviyo flows up to the purchase. They
Yeah.
don't think about post purchase, what that relationship needs to be for that person to come back and go like, oh my God, I love this brand. I want to go back and buy from them again.
I was just writing that in an article that I was putting together today about Black Friday. That really, I mean, bringing people in is great, but if you're not setting up a post-purchase funnel that's going to get them coming back for more, it's wasting. You're wasting that opportunity.
You're buying transactions.
Yeah,
That's what you're doing in that
exactly. You're buying
scenario.
transactions, not loyalty. And I
Yeah.
like the idea of a live chat thing, like you were saying. That adds more to the story you're telling about your products and your branding as a company. That's a good way to keep developing it.
Yep. And in that customer UX that we just discussed, right?
Yeah.
Customer lifecycle marketing is critical there, right? And
Hmm.
understanding not just bringing people in and acquiring on that first transaction and worrying about ROAS too much. What is the lifetime ROAS
Yep.
that you're getting out of that
The
consumer?
lifetime
That
value.
depends on what you're doing post purchase on your retention marketing, right? So
Yep.
that and reactivation marketing, so that literally maybe the second or third transaction, the cost of acquiring that customer is zero.
How do you get
Now
them
it's
to
completely
fully
profitable,
the
100% profitable.
yep, get them in and then have them coming back without you having to advertise to them every time and pay for the customer again and again and again. Yeah.
So we're down to our journey. We're number 8,
The final dimension.
the final dimension.
All
So this is
right.
what I do in every business optimization that I have my hands in, right?
Okay.
First, I blame all the other dimensions that they're not right, right?
Okay.
We will blame them till I'm blue in the face. I want to get everything right about them. Number 8 is your team. I blame people last,
Hmm.
right? Unless blatantly I see that there's something wrong with the person,
Yeah, they're stealing from the business. That's you blame
right?
that. But yeah,
Yeah, stealing, fraud.
sure, sure.
There's a lot of family involved, and that's how they're getting by with it. Getting
They
with
end
go
up
away with murder. But team is anyone that touches your business, anyone.
mm,
So if you hired somebody temporarily for $50 on Fiverr, that's part of your team.
yep.
If your mom packs in her garage, she packs all your orders that you got for your e-com business. Typically happens in the first $1 million businesses, right? From 0 to 1 million.
Yep.
Their
That's
mom is
great.
helping, their girlfriend is helping, their sister-in-law, whatever, and their grandpa who has retired, they're helping also. It's all family business, right? Anyone that touches the business needs to understand what you're doing with the other 7 dimensions and what you're doing in the business. And as a founder, it's 100%. That sign, it says the buck stops here.
Uh-huh.
The buck stops with you,
Buck
right?
stops the
If
founder.
something is wrong in the business, it's not Lisa's fault. It's not Cindy's fault. It's not Chris's fault, right? It's your fault.
Yep.
You did not communicate. You did not set the tone. You did not set the process. You did not explain to them how to take care of that customer, or you may have made some sort of a comment that sounded like a statement. It's your fault. 100%.
Yep.
100%. It's your credit and it's your fault, right? You as a team, you need to make sure that you are responsible as a founder. Monday mornings, what are you doing at 9 a.m.? You can't stroll into the business at 10 a.m. as a founder. You better be there at 8 a.m. So 9 a.m. when everybody comes in, it's all hands on deck. You're
Yep.
having all hands meeting with everybody for 30 minutes, letting them know exactly how this week is going to go. Don't tell them about plans about 6 months down the line. This week we have this campaign coming up. We're going to be pushing this thing out. This new product is coming in. I'm going to be on Thursday on pushing this on Facebook. Bob is going to send emails out twice this week about this thing, right? we're anticipating these many calls coming into our call center or live chat or whatever. You need to communicate that so that everybody in all the other 7 dimensions know exactly what's happening this week and celebrate. Like that Monday morning, by the way, guys, we did a fabulous week last week. We were up 35%. And that thing, by the way, I just want to highlight Cindy, when she took care of that thing, that was very innovative. I just want to call her out that she's amazing at what she did, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, celebrate those milestones. And at the same time, okay, let's get back to business. Now, this week, this is what we are doing, right? And if you run your company on a week-to-week basis, not quarterly plans, not monthly plans, not because what happens if you make an improvement in one day and you're doing it for 5 days, that's 5 days of improvement.
Yep.
On Monday morning, you could celebrate with an amazing milestone that you have achieved, right? There's no need for you to look at monthly results or quarterly results. Or this is why, it's funny that we have incredible results we get out of this Rapid 2X program and the 8D method, right? Yeah. And what I preach is patience. Even though you're getting ridiculous growth, being patient and being very methodical and very surgical about what we do is the right advice for any business. Even though, there are people that work very hard for 5 to 10% improvement in their business, right?
Yeah.
We get ridiculous growth, but we do it very methodically. And it's funny, the faces that I see on in our Rapid 2X Zoom meeting, group meeting, right? When we hit that 4th week or 5th week, we start seeing smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
Because we're growing at a ridiculous rate, but it doesn't feel stressful. Yeah, but it shouldn't be. Yeah. It shouldn't, because if you have processes in place, if you have the right methods in place, things should be a well-oiled machine. They should grow. And then we are addressing growth by adding the right things, the right levers that we need. More people, more ads, more products, more inventory. But we know exactly what we want to pull on in order to get that. So it doesn't have to be, growth doesn't have to be stressful.
Yeah. Once you have that skeleton in place, that structure, then you can start scaling off of that, and it doesn't give you this chaotic feeling that you would have otherwise.
Yep. And it's a great feeling. You want your business to be like that. Like when you walk into the business, it becomes very predictable for you, right? And then now what you're doing is no longer working in the business, you're working on the business. You've heard that term before. People throw it around willy-nilly. I mean it literally, right? Well, working on the business means that what is that the next product that you're working on, or the enhancement to existing product, or enhancement to your service that you're delivering and stuff. Then you're working on the business, not necessarily the nuances of daily fires that you're putting out in your business.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for walking me through the 8 dimensions, Sabir. One other thing that I wanted to ask you about, I imagine a lot of your insight into this, a lot of it comes from the experience you've had with different retailers, with working with all these different companies, putting it together. But say you're trying to learn something new about the industry or come up with a new strategy for something. How do you like to research that? Like what sort of materials do you go for? If it's ebooks or podcasts or webinars?
So I devour audiobooks and podcasts, Okay. Even when I'm working here, you see that, do you see that thing behind me, the little boom box?
I see that boom box.
Right. The panel in front of me actually allows me to select podcast or audiobook right in front of me here, right? I press that and I put it on 2x. I listen to things a lot faster, right? From a book standpoint, I finish up almost, and they all come recommended to me, right? Sure. At least 2 books per week I consume, right? Podcasts are pretty regular too, right? Yeah. Whether I'm sitting here working, I listen to it in the background, and when I hear something interesting, it's funny. I'm gonna show you something, right? Yeah. When I hear something, whether it's an audiobook or whatever, and most people, what they do is they go and use something like Notion or Microsoft Notes or something like that, right? They use Trello to make it a task or whatever. I don't use any of those things, right? So for task management, I use Google Calendar.
Hmm.
And if I want to write the detail, I have a running document in a Google Doc. That's it.
Yeah.
And the people who need to see it are shared with them. That's it. So they need to include their notes in there. And the source of truth is that one document, basically. And then the second thing is a tracking sheet where I keep track of how the business is doing
Okay.
ongoing. So some of the Rapid 2Xers, it has turned into a book, like 200, 300 pages, where they can do that. But if I hear something in an audio book, like right literally in the corner of my ear, right, I hear it, or a
Yeah.
podcast, here's my instrument. That's it.
The classic.
It's very simple,
I found I
right?
remember
Yeah,
things better.
I don't have to pause anything. I just go like, oh, that was a cool idea. I write it down, right?
Yeah.
It's
Writing
it's
it
a
down.
little grid book that I bought from Amazon. It's a nice pen I have.
Hmm.
I literally write down, oh, that was interesting. I write it down, right? I literally write it down, go like, okay, I'm gonna go back to it, right? And then from there, that's where I go like, okay, let me research this. I'm gonna run it because I have access to not only my own brands that I own,
Sure.
right? I have access to Rapid 2Xers that when I say to them, like, hey, here's a cool idea, strategy it's not tactical, by the way, and none of this stuff is tactical. It's all strategy. We want to make this kind of a strategy implementation. Who's up for it? And people that raise their hand go like, oh, I'm up for it. So as soon as I announce it in Rapid 2X, 5 people raise their hand. Great. I'm going to try it alongside them and go like, okay, let's try it for 2 weeks. We're going to come back and report back what we learned from it. And that's as simple as that.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're able to
So
actually
two books, pretty religion, 5 to 6 podcasts a week, but
Yeah.
it's not getting in my way of working. And test, learn, and optimize.
I mean,
Everything is data, right?
you can
Set
get
up the
these.
experiment, test it, learn from it. It doesn't matter. You showed me a book. It doesn't matter how brilliant those use cases are in the book. If it doesn't work for me for this category that I'm looking at, it doesn't work for me because it could be a brilliant idea in the fashion industry, but doesn't work in personal care, right?
Yeah.
So be mindful of that. What you hear, because you could hear great ideas, maybe not for you, or you could hear an idea in plumbing industry that has nothing to do with your fashion, high-end luxury fashion business, but it sounds interesting. You take that and you do it. It becomes an innovative, amazing idea, award-winning.
I mean, I just love that you have your in-house testing network. You can be like, I think this is a good idea, and now I'll tell people about it, and we'll see if they want to try it out.
Yep. I mean, that's part of. There are two communities I have. I have the Rapid 2X community, which is a businesses that are the right fit for it, and they can get into it through paying into that mastermind, right? It's a
Sure.
paid program. So that's one. It's the Rapid 2X. They can go to growthbysabir.com,
Mhm.
and it's on there. But for the others, I had a lot of people that would DM me to ask me questions left and right. So I actually launched my own private community called E-commerce Growth Mastermind. That's more attainable. It's like $97 a month. You throw money at on stupid stuff, right?
Yeah.
$97 to get, and I do 2 live shows for that community every single week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursdays are live Q&A, and on Tuesdays I do brand breakdown. I have special guests. We had amazing special guests that we bring on that they share exclusive presentation with the community so that they can learn something interesting about e-commerce and how to grow their business. And we do also, brand breakdowns where community members just raise their hand, go like, hey, I would like to do a 90-minute brand breakdown with Sabir live.
Yeah.
And I do that with them. So both of the links are on growthbysabir.com. You can just page down and you'll see it side by side. Whichever is the right fit for you, just click on that and explore further. There's a lot of testimonials on there from Rapid 2Xers who have gotten amazing results by implementing 8D method. And I coach them, when they go through the Rapid 2X.
Well, Sabir, thank you so much, and thank you for letting people know where they can find you as well if they want to learn more or work with you. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you on the podcast. And
thank you for having me, Sam. I enjoyed being here, and thank you for all the questions and stuff. I really enjoy them.
Thanks for being here, man.